think that the Oracle might be our big bad of this series, because I don't think Agent Smith is our big bad, and I think the Oracle might be the AI, that one sentient being that created the army. What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to Post Finale. I am your host, Ankit Madhira. I'm an actor and a singer who has not seen a lot of films, so to make my friends happy and potentially provide a new perspective on some popular films, I am on a quest to change that. I am never on this quest alone, however. This week, I am joined by the co-host of the Movie Smash podcast and the founder of Off Panel Creations, a nerdy furniture company, Chris Roberts. Chris, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you back. This is wonderful. You were our guest for our last episode talking about The Matrix. We're jumping right back into it. We're continuing talking about The Matrix. Now, I did not tell you about this question, and I never tell the guests about this question because I enjoy the entertainment. But you might have heard this question before. If you could play a character in this film, who would you like to play? And I'm going to add a caveat. It cannot be Neo or Morpheus, because I don't know if anyone else can play those roles.
Yeah, see, I was going to go with Morpheus on that one.
That's fair. This is why I throw this caveat in there. It's like, you can't be the lead.
Yeah, well, and the reason, too, is like, as a cast, right? Most characters in the movie, other than Agent Smith, Morpheus, and Neo, aren't that fleshed out. Unless you want to be like one of the villains. Like, they're very sort of background characters. Either they get killed off, or they don't do much, or they sort of like have an appearance. Like, honestly, if you had me go through all the characters, I probably don't remember half their names because they're barely on the screen.
Yeah,
so it's kind of, for this movie, I feel like it's kind of like an unfair question, because like, who is there to pick from? Like you said, like out of everybody in the cast, who would what extra walking on the back of this back lot do you want me to pick?
Hey, I will say Tank is really fun.
Tank's a fun character. He's got some good personality to him. He might be the only person on there with sort of like a more light personality, because I think isn't Tank the only one who, well, him and his brother are the only ones who are, as he said, freshly born, or not? What was the term he used?
We talk about it later in this episode, but I think it's something along the lines of
like, what's the term he uses?
Ooh, fresh born human?
Something like that. Like,
I have it somewhere.
Okay.
Keep talking and I will find it.
No. Like, yeah, so I think so he's got a sort of a different perspective. And obviously there are things you have not seen yet and you won't see for a while, especially when you come to the second movie that plays into why he has this kind of personality to him. Mm-hmm. But so maybe Tank would be a good choice.
I think Tank would be fun. I also did like Dozer for what he's able to do.
I like Cypher as a character. I wouldn't want to be Cypher, but I like Cypher as a character because I like the way he's a cynic. He's sort of he questions Morpheus. Everyone else is like almost like an occult with him. Mm-hmm. And Cypher's kind of like, do you think he's really the one? No, he's the questioning character.
He's the questioning character. And I think we might have discussed this. We might have accidentally skipped over this in the last episode, but we'll go over it right now because Tank comes in and talks to Neo, and what he says is that he and his brother Dozer are 100% old-fashioned, homegrown, born free right here in the real world, a genuine child of Zion. And we learn that Zion is the last human city, the only place humans have left, and it is deep underground near the Earth's core, where it's still warm, and if he lives long enough, Neo might even get the chance to see it. I don't remember if we discussed that in the last episode. I think we might have accidentally skipped it. But there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we missed. And yeah. But yeah, that's fair.
Right.
They aren't the most memorable characters. I will give you that. They are not. Some of them I was like, oh, interesting. I personally currently would either want to play Tank or Cypher. Based on what I have seen, I'd want to play one of those two.
Well, you're an actor, so obviously, no, maybe playing the character more than just being the character, or different than just wanting to be the character. Yeah, I'm not an actor myself, so
Yeah,
none
fair.
of them.
Completely valid. You want to be the AI insect.
There you go.
There you go.
I know we didn't touch on it last time. You could sort of mention what those AI insect things look like. I do like the fact that artistically they look alien to us because they're not designed by humans; they're designed by the AI. The AI is not bound to the constructs of what we thought would look like a beautiful machine.
I think it's really beautiful that like it looks like an alien, but it still looks like something that we could still kind of see in the real world. And by the real world, I mean like our world that we know is real as 2025. But like you could still see because some of them kind of look like large ants. I called one a spider bot earlier. And like they're futuristic versions of these and metal versions. And like they aren't exactly what I'm describing them as, but it's the easiest way for me to process what it looks like. But it still has this futuristic feel to it, this futuristic look. Like, okay, we're not quite just like a robotic ant, but we're like a massive robotic ant that has like 12 legs, and it looked like it had 3 parts and some antennas, so that's kind of where I went with ant kind of deal.
Yeah, I kind of look at like a tentacled monster, almost like if you're familiar with H.P. Lovecraft and Cthulhu mythos. Like it reminds you like sort of like an eldritch god kind of thing, and essentially like it's a thing of nightmares, but at the same time seems grounded in science.
Right.
Like the technology took itself in a direction that becomes what we would consider a nightmarish. But it's the natural progression of that AI's sort of building something. Because I mean, think about it. We wouldn't want to add extra arms to ourselves, but the AI is like, I need more arms on this thing. Slap more arms on this.
Right. Who knows? There might be some people out there that really want 4 arms. I could see the benefits of 4 arms. I can also see the hindrances of them. So like,
clothing be a pay to buy.
Oh, all you gotta do is cut a hole in your shirt. Like, it's not the end of the world. I mean, like, it would then be weird because then, like, you got a weird breeze happening, and then, like, the winter's a tough time. But, like,
the amount of anti deodorant you'd go through every single year just isn't worth it.
That's where all your money would go. Not the eggs. It's the deodorant. That's the real problem.
Yeah, a big deodorant is pushing the forearm movement.
Yeah, they're really pushing 4 arms on every human.
Yep.
That's what we need.
We're seeing it now.
Yeah. Hey, we've seen it be effective on Pokemon. Why not humans? So
very true.
Lovely. Anyway, we're here to talk about the Matrix, not 4 arms on people. So where we left off, we have trouble. The ship is zooming. We learned that it was not a message sent from Zion, but it was sent from another ship. Dozer then says, "Squiddy's sweeping in quick." Incredible line. I'm incredibly confused. And then we do learn that Squiddy is their term for a sentinel killing machine designed for one thing. And I was like, killing! And then they go, search and destroy. And I was like, that's not fair. You said it was a killing machine. You never included searching in part of this description. I was upset by the film. They bait and switched me. They're not wrong. You probably do need to do the searching before you do the killing. But also, like, come on. You set me up. It's a killing machine. It can do the killing. No, it can search. That's 2 things. Search and destroy is 2 things.
Well, I think yeah, that's true. It is. I guess it's technically 2 different things. But it's kind of a trope of to be a killing machine. At least they didn't go with that. All the Terminator movies, it's always about a killing machine. This, at least, it can find you too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so can the Terminator. I've seen the first one, so like I do know that. Like he tracks them down quite often in that film.
Yeah. I got nothing for you on that one. That is true.
That's 2 things. They said one thing, and then they said search and destroy.
At least not the one thing is make you cookies.
Now I really wish the one thing the killing machine could do is make me cookies.
And it kills you via cookies.
Yeah, but at least I die having eaten a nice warm cookie.
Yeah, I'm envisioning a robot shows up, hands you like a bunch of cookies it just made out of itself, because it can be also an oven at the same time. It's like
Yeah.
it kills you with kindness. It says, thank you for being my neighbor. Here's a fresh dozen cookies for you. And then you end up dying from those cookies.
The only thing I request in this situation is, can it be the 12th cookie that kills me?
Well, I
So
think
that
it's
I get
the
to
acting of
enjoy
eating all the
all of
cookies.
them.
Like, I think it's like an
Ah.
act of eating all the cookies. So if you stop at 11, you still live.
You have
If
to
you share the
complete.
cookies, you still live.
You
But
still
if you
live.
eat all 12, you die.
If you greedy, death. All right, fair enough. They set the ship down and they turn all the lights off. Offline, and EMP, the electromagnetic pulse, is armed. This disables any electrical systems in the area and the blast radius, and it's the only weapon that works against the machines. And we learn that they're in the sewers, and where they are, it used to be cities for hundreds of miles, and now this is all that's left. Morpheus tells them to be quiet.
Yeah, I want to say one thing real fast. The
Yeah.
EMP weapon,
Mhm.
having seen this movie in the theaters in the late 90s, for your listeners who are a little younger than this, the EMP was like the go-to solution for all 90s movies. In the 80s, it was the nuke.
Okay.
90s, EMPs. Everything was solved by an EMP. You have an invading army, EMP it.
EMP it.
It's
Okay.
always an EMP. So the fact that this was another EMP solution did not surprise me at the time, because it was the hot thing.
Okay, fair enough. I do like that we don't actually use it. I wonder if we are ever gonna use it. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, because
Now-
they themselves were in a machine, it shut their machines down too.
But I thought that's why they turned off their machine, because everything goes dark in their machine. And so my understanding to that is, if they did then use it, they would not be affected because all of their machines are offline.
No, because the EMP blast wipes out all the magnetism. Wow, can you say the word today? So even your computer, if it's turned off, the drives and it'll get wiped out
Nope.
through an EMP blast.
Great.
Which is
I know
why
about
that's
technology.
a solution in nuclear wars. You might detonate a nuke above a city, have the EMP wave hit the city, and the city gets disabled while wiping out the city itself.
That makes sense. Fair enough. Please don't do that to the world. Nobody
try.
needs that in their lives. Yeah. Chris, you specifically don't hit that button.
Well, there
Now-
goes my Thursday.
Well, find something else to do for your afternoon.
I might go get a cookie instead.
Ooh! Now, one of the logs is sorry. And so one of these robot machine things is floating around. We see quite a few of them. We see many of them show up. It's not just one of them in the area. There are more than one of them. But one of them comes by and seems to lock onto our friends in the ship, but then it doesn't register them and it floats away. It's all safe. We're all good. We don't need to use the EMP. Everyone is slightly freaked out, but it's all good. Later on, we see Cypher working, and Neo walks up and scares the bejesus out of him. All Neo did was walk up quietly. It is one of my favorite things to do, though, and it happens a lot for me as well, where I'll just be like at the studio, like working, and then I'll walk through some path and like end up in some room, and the kids will just turn around and they're like, "Where did you come from?" And I'm like, "I walked." Like, I don't know what you want from, like, I just walked in the room. Like, what do you want? Like, I'm just passing through or whatever. But it does happen, and it's fun whenever it does happen. But anyway, so Neo asks if the code that we see at the beginning of the movie, it's this green text on that black background that's going, is the Matrix. And this is where I clock that it's probably Cypher's voice that we hear at the beginning of the film, talking to Trinity. Because I knew that it was Trinity's voice, but I didn't put together whose voice it was. And now I'm thinking it's Cypher's voice at the very beginning of the film, when they're talking on that non-secure line.
Yeah.
Now, I was like, ooh, does he and Trinity have a thing? Or did they have a thing? Now Trinity's going to be falling in love with Neo by the end of the film, and then she's going to die. So, Trinity no longer has a thing for Cypher because now she has the eyes for Neo. But maybe they did have a thing. We'll find out. Maybe a lover's quarrel later. I don't know. Now, you Now, we learn that you always have to look at the Matrix encoded. The image translators work for the construct program, but there is way too much info to decode the Matrix. Cypher says that you get used to it, and he doesn't see code. He just sees blonde, brunette, redhead. What are you looking at, Cypher? What are you looking at that you need to be looking at blonde, brunette, and redhead? How is this important to whatever your task is at hand?
It tells you what he's focused on. What's important to him.
It really does. Cypher offers him a drink, and Neo accepts. Neo thinks he's starting to understand, and Cypher says that he understands what Neo is thinking, that he's been thinking the same thing since he got here. Why didn't I take the blue pill? And this is where I paused the movie and I wrote down, I'm calling my shot now. Cypher is not going to be the mole. He is not going to be the villain. He is our red herring. I want to meet APOC and Switch before confirming who I think the mole is, but I'm guessing that the traitor on the ship is Mouse. I don't know why. I don't have a good reason for it, but I think it's Mouse.
Well, the one thing I like about this scene too is it shows that Cypher is very almost hedonistic, right? The things that he enjoys. He enjoys the terrible alcohol. All he sees are the redhead, the brunette, the blonde. Mm-hmm. What's important to him is the illusion verse was actually happening. Not the illusion. That's that bad phrase for it. But he misses those experiences.
Yeah, he misses the ignorance. Mm-hmm. That he used to have. And he misses just being able to enjoy life and thinking that whatever is true is true.
Yep.
And not knowing that he's in a simulation. And he misses that. He's longing for just going back to a simpler time for him.
Which I can see why you see it as him potentially being a red herring for this mole character.
Yeah. I just feel like he's not going to be the one to actually do it, but I think other people might know that he feels this way, and so this is why I think that he could be the good setup. Everyone thinks that he's the bad guy and the mole, but he isn't.
So sort of like the too simple of an answer.
Yeah, it felt too easy. It felt too easy. I don't know if it is too easy, but it felt too easy. Neo scoffs at this, and then they drink. Apparently, whatever they are drinking is strong, and Dozer makes it, and it's good for two things. One, degreasing engines, and two, killing brain cells. See? This is how you do two things. Not search and destroy. This is two things. Not one, two. That was two things. I get annoyed by this thing.
I can see.
If it's one thing, it's one thing. Not two. Anyway.
You could probably also use it to remove paint off the walls or light a candle. So it is more than two things, even though they said only two things. It is more than
two things, but I will give them credit here because they've only labeled two things. So they have only found two uses that they use it for. Whereas with the killing machine, they said one thing, and then they said two things.
So you would have been super upset. They said it's good for killing brain cells, degreasing something, and our flamethrower.
They would have been a musician who doesn't know how to count past the number 4. Yeah. Like, come on. Now, Cypher asks Neo if Morpheus told him why he did it, why he's here. Neo confirms this, and Cypher calls it a mind job. He offers some advice. He says, see an agent, we do what we do, run your ass off. Neo thanks him for the drink and heads off to bed. Cool. Okay. So I'm like, all right, Cypher's again, and Cypher giving this advice, I'm like, Cypher can't be the mole, because why would he give the advice run from an agent if he's the mole and wants them to be captured by an agent? Why would he give this advice? We then shift scenes, and Cypher is appearing to be back in the Matrix. At least that's what it looks like. I couldn't tell. I don't know with the color saturation. This is the one part where I was confused where we're at. But you were talking about the colors earlier. So are we in the Matrix?
We are in the Matrix.
Okay, great. So we are in the Matrix. My assumption is correct. And we cut to a scene of him at dinner. And they say, do we have a deal, Mr. Reagan? And at first I was like, oh, is he impersonating the president, Ronald Reagan? No, I think his name is Cypher Reagan.
Yep. Well, because Reagan wasn't the president in 1999.
Right. I do know that. Like, I do know that Reagan was not the president in 99 and that it was
No.
Bill Clinton.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Time is truly a construct in this universe. So, like, maybe for whatever reason, he was going back to that moment to live something and exist for something. No, he is Mr. Reagan. And Cypher says that even though he knows the stake doesn't exist, and the Matrix tells him that the Matrix tells his brain that it's juicy and delicious, we see him at dinner with an agent, and I'm like, oh, come on. And he knows that after 9 years that, this is all fake. He eats it and then just says, even after 9 years, ignorance is bliss. The agent says that they have a deal. Cypher wants to remember nothing. He wants to be rich and wants to be someone important and wants to be with someone important like an actor. And Cypher says that if he can get back into the Matrix, he will get them whatever they want. The agent says that they can do this, and the agent wants access codes to the Zion mainframe. Cypher doesn't know them. The Agent Smith, leans in like he doesn't care, and Cypher says, I'll get you the man who does, Morpheus. I was proved wrong immediately.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I think is interesting too. Remember we talked about the steak and how it tastes and how he loves the taste of the steak, even though he knows it's fake. I think we missed discussing it, but there's a scene where they're having breakfast outside the Matrix, and is it like a gruel looking material?
Yeah, it happens literally next.
Oh, sorry, I'm mixed up.
Oh, you're good. No, keep going because
but it brings up
literally the next thing.
Sure, but it brings up a good point of like, how does the Matrix know what it's supposed to taste like? And it doesn't. So like, they're having breakfast, and he's like, it tastes terrible. Whatever they're eating, it's literally gruel coming out of a funnel. And he's like, how do you know this isn't what? No, why does chicken taste like chicken? Because they taste like everything because the Matrix couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I love Mouse in this scene where he's just like going on this like, oh, what if kind of thing, and he's just like, they couldn't decide what chicken should taste like, so it tastes like everything. Or like, hey, what I know as the tasty wheat may have originally been oatmeal. It may have originally been tuna. Like, how am I supposed to know what it originally tasted like? It's just my interpretation is what the Matrix is telling me is that this is what it's supposed to taste like.
So how does Cypher even know that steak is that good?
I don't know. I think that's where the line ignorance is bliss comes in, though. Yep. Is that he now can think of all of that. But for any of us normal people, then I would say, like, you take a piece of steak and you put it in your mouth and it's like, this is what it's supposed to taste like. This tastes good, right? You don't know any different. You're going to think it tastes good. So,
exactly.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful. The next scene, incredible. Mouse is one of my favorite characters just solely because of this scene. It's a very fun monologue. The actor does a very, very good job delivering it. And what we learn about this gruel is it's a single-celled protein combined with synthetic aminos, vitamins, and minerals, everything the body needs. And the face that Keanu Reeves made at this moment was almost one of those faces where it felt like he wanted to say something along the lines of, yeah, everything the body needs except it actually tasting good.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of funny. It's like, so they're fighting for this reality, which is, I think if you look at it, is worse than the reality they were in. So I think it speaks more to it. Like, they're fighting for truth, for what is true, what is real, versus what the illusion is. And it really comes down to, like, what's more important to you at the end of the day, that you know what reality is, what truth is, and you live by that truth, no matter how bad it is, no matter how devastating it is, or to live in the illusion, to make believe.
Right. I mean, look, personally, I'd rather live in the illusion. I don't need to know the truth. I don't feel like if all of this were real, I don't know if I would be the one that is so dependent on it that I would fight to save it. But I don't know if I would be like, I'm gonna go seek out the answers. I'm pretty content. Like, I'm okay with technically being in a simulation if that's really what's happening.
See, I'm more of the reality guy. I would want to know the truth, and from the truth you can take action. From the truth you can make decisions about things and know your good foundation. So for me to say, especially if you know it's an illusion, especially if you know
Right.
it's false, that's, to me, that emotionally would kill me.
Yeah, I think it would be a different thing, like, if I'm unplugged, right?
Yeah.
And, like, it's they succeed in whatever the mission to destroy the Matrix. They succeed, all of us are unplugged, we're now here. Like, it would be like, okay, it would take some getting used to, but it would be like, okay, okay, everything I knew was a lie, this is the truth. I think I'd, like, process it. And again, this is all speculation because none of us know how we would handle any of these situations. So,
Of course, yeah.
but I think I would be able to process it and be like, okay, like, cool, this is what's happening. I don't think, like, I would completely break down and be like, like, this is terrible. But I would not be the one that's like Neo, like Trinity. I would not be actively seeking out what is the Matrix.
Well, you mentioned earlier it wasn't Morpheus, it was I forget who said it, but they said it normally they take people when they're young, when they're children.
Morpheus said that they don't normally do this after a certain age.
Yeah,
like freeing the mind.
So that means you look at everyone in the crew, except for Neo, means that Morpheus took them out when they were far younger, and they were raised in this environment, so that they all they know is this. And it's kind of funny that would a person have a shock about? Let's say we are in a simulation, we're unplugged, and the question, you're right, no one really knows what you would do, but it's like, could you handle it? That your reality just got shifted.
Right. And I don't know. But then what you just said poses another question to me. It seems like Morpheus has pulled all of these people out as their kids. But then Cypher says that it's only been 9 years, and Cypher doesn't look like he's in his 20s.
No. Yeah, he was probably pulled out in his 20s.
So I think Cypher might have been maybe the last one that Morpheus pulled out as an adult.
Or maybe he thought Cypher was the one in the first place.
He might have. And then, so that's why he did that, and then Cypher wasn't the one. But I think that might also be playing into Cypher being the traitor and being different, is that my working theory is that he was the last one that Morpheus did this to when they were technically too old to have their mind freed.
Yeah.
And so that messed with his mind. So I don't know if this is true. I don't know if any of the post things tell us information about this. If there's a book or those archives that you were talking about, the videos.
The Animatrix.
The Animatrix, yeah. I don't know if any of those give us any answers to this, but this is my working theory, is that Cypher was probably taken out as an adult and not a kid, whereas probably everybody else, as we were saying, is taken out as a kid.
Yeah, for the Animatrix, all the stories, if I remember correctly, I haven't rewatched the whole thing in a while, but they're all stories that take place in this world, but aren't related to these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one, the Last Flight of the Osiris, which is a similar to Nebuchadnezzar type ship, and their story. There's one that does the archives of the history, the lore of, from the point of view of the robots, of what's happened. There's one where a guy runs so fast, he all of a sudden starts realizing he is in a simulation because I think we talked about last episode where, just do it. Don't think you can. And this guy just ran so fast that he realized he can run that fast, but he's running past what a human should be able to do, so that he realizes he's in a matrix.
I like how his thought was, I'm in a matrix, not I'm the Flash.
No, because all of a sudden the other runners start turning into Agent Smiths. Trying to chase him down because he is realizing that he is in a simulation because he's running that fast. Okay.
It wasn't like a that would have been fun though if he was running that fast,
I'm
didn't
pulsed.
realize he's in a matrix, and it's just like, I got superpowers.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe
But
that's what superpowers are. Maybe they're glitches in the matrix. Who
That's
knows?
true too.
I don't
But yeah,
know.
for your listeners, again, I'd recommend if you get a chance after seeing this movie, go and watch those things before you watch the second movie.
Okay.
Because a lot that came out between the two films.
Lore. We love lore.
There you go.
It's the same way that I'm telling people now, if they are to watch the How to Train Your Dragon series and want to watch it as a whole, yes, they're drastically different than the books. Watch the first movie, watch the 6 seasons of the TV shows, and then go watch the second movie.
Yeah.
Like, because everything that takes place in the TV shows is in between movie 1 and movie 2.
It won't make any sense if you go out of order.
I mean, yeah, it'll still make sense. The movies still make complete sense.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that you don't have to watch the TV show to have context for the movie. And it's like, okay, I can see how we've made this jump. But it adds a lot more layers to the lore of the world. And it explains how they learn more about all of these dragons. How by the time the second movie rolls around, they have grown from having a few dragons to hundreds of dragons.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I love those movies. I keep coming back to them all the time. One of my favorite film franchises. We're on The Matrix.
Yes.
Now, we're talking about Gruel. It's sad. Mouse, incredible. Fantastic. And Mouse says, hey, what'd you think about the agent training program? I wrote it. I want to know what you think. And he wants to know specifically of what Neo thought of the woman in the red dress. And Mouse says, I programmed her. And if you want, I could set up a more intimate rendezvous. Something along those lines. And I do like one of them. It's Spritz? Spring?
The woman with the white hair?
Yeah.
Platinum blonde?
Yeah, that one. Who exists for like 5 minutes and says like 4 lines. So, yeah. Not APOC, but the other one. The name starts with an S. Just goes, digital pimp at work. And Mouse, I love this line. He just goes, ignore the hypocrites. To deny your own impulse denies what makes us human. It's true. Humans have impulses.
I think I said last time too. Like, I really feel like a lot of these lines were written by a bunch of middle schoolers trying to be deep.
But they can pull it off, though. But I think they wrote it that way, but then they said it in a world where all of it makes sense.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, and I think that's the key, is like, when you actually look at the words on a page, they're some of them incredibly scientific and intellectual, and like, don't get me wrong. But then some of them, you're just like, okay, which 7th grader wrote this one?
Exactly. It's like a 7th grader trying to be edgy.
Yeah. But like, it works because of the setting. And it works because of the context. It never feels like they're trying to be edgy. It's just like, no, we're just jaded. Yeah. Morpheus comes in, tells Dozer to move the ship. They are going in and taking Neo to see the Oracle. And I like that Tank, as he's buckling them in, is like, all right, boys and girls, please keep your hands inside the vehicle at all times. He's talking to them like a roller coaster ride operator. And I just really enjoyed that. I was like, Tank's fun. Tank's like, we might be in a war. We're going to have a little bit of giggles as you guys are going in. Like,
it's the only way to do it.
Yeah. He's like, look, it's dark. Got to find the entertainment. Got to find the comedy and what's going on. This is where I also realize having Tank and Dozer as humans and only humans is incredibly useful and incredibly powerful in terms of storytelling, because they can't go inside the Matrix. And them not being able to go in the Matrix means that there are 2 bodies that are outside that can keep them safe and work to protect the bodies and protect their minds. And then one can also steer the ship. So if they get under attack, they can go save them that way by flying them away in the ship. And then the other one is able to follow along what's happening inside the Matrix, but not actually be there. So,
they can save them physically, but not inside the Matrix itself.
Yeah. But they can monitor what's going on, and they can help, and they can communicate and get them answers of like, hey, you have this technology to be able to find this information. we don't. Get us an answer. Like, get us in, get us out. So I think it's a very useful storytelling and plot device. So yeah. And then we're all inside the Matrix now, and Morpheus answers the phone and says, "We're in." And I was like, "Ooh, so cool." And that's where we're going to take our intermission, and then we'll jump back into what happens inside the Matrix. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale as we go through the Matrix movie. If you are enjoying this episode, please leave a like, a comment, a review, a rating, subscribe, follow us. It really does help out whatever platform you are listening on, or if you are on YouTube and you are watching us on YouTube. It really does help us out a lot. And thank you all to everyone who has already done that. Thank you to anyone who will do that in the future. If you want to gain access to some bonus content, you can do so. Head over to patreon.com/coopforge. So that's patreon.com/CO_OPFORGE. Sign up for any of the tiers there, and you get different bonus content. We're changing how some of the content looks on there, but you get content not just for this show, but you also get content for Flip the Scripts, which is our other show here with Co-op Forge. So you get content for all of that, bonus content available there, and you get a shout out on both of our shows. And thank you all so much for supporting. If you are, and if you are not able to support in a monetary way, but you still want to support the show in a non-monetary way, that is fantastic. Please tell a friend about the show. Reach out and be like, hey, there's this actor and singer who hasn't seen a lot of films, and so he's watching films for the first time and guessing what's going on, and it's a fun time overall. Go check it out. It really does help us out a lot. Be sure follow us on social media at Co-op Forge, CO_OPFORGE on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and at Post Finale Pod on Instagram. Be sure follow us, talk about us on social media. That helps us out a lot as well. But just thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I say, let's get back into it, talking. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. And before we jump back into talking about the Matrix, I just got one other housekeeping thing. If you are all listening to this and would like to come see me as Oliver in a production of Oliver in Seattle, that is happening March 21st through April 5th. The link to tickets and more information for that is down in the description. It's a really fun production, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So be sure, come check that out if you're in the Seattle area, March 21st through April 5th. And if you are coming to the show, let me know, and I would love to meet up afterwards. But thank you so much for listening to this episode, and let's get back into talking about The Matrix. So we're back. Morpheus says that they will be back in 1 hour, which means they will most definitely not be back in 1 hour. Cypher then calls someone, I'm assuming it's the suits, and tosses the cell into the trash, sending the signal out to them to say, this is where we are. They're driving through the city, and Neo is from this city. He sees a restaurant that he likes. He was like, I ate there. They had good noodles. And then he says, I have all these experiences and memories from my life, but none of them are real. What does that mean? Trinity says that the Matrix cannot tell you who you are. And then Neo's like, yeah, but the Oracle's different. I like that Neo's a skeptic. He's learned all of this information that all seems like it is so baffling and none of this should be able to be true. But the Oracle, that's where he draws the line.
Well, I think it's interesting, too. We talked about they were picked up as children, except for probably Cypher and Neo. And everyone else, it's almost like a cult-like behavior believing in this stuff. Like, they don't question ever.
No.
Except for Neo and Cypher. They're the only ones that ever question this. And like Neo saying, like, oh, but the Oracle can tell me. But everyone else in the team's like, of course, because Morpheus says so. So it's almost like they're almost like a cult at this point.
It feels like they're almost like a cult. It also feels like, they grew up to believe in the Oracle, right? And it's the same way I think a religion works. You grow up, you believe this. You're welcome to believe what you would like to believe. And it's just like, okay, this is your understanding of the world. You understand it this way. Someone else might understand it in a different way. So like for Trinity and the crew, the Oracle is someone that they have experience with. This is someone that they understand and they feel connected to the Oracle. And maybe if you pulled in, John, who is a waiter at a restaurant, he wouldn't believe in the Oracle.
No.
And so I kind of am viewing it in that way as well, of like, all right, like this entire group, I do like the idea that like, it's a little bit of a cult, like, following, but it's also like at the end of the day, for the Oracle, at least, they're just believing in what they believe in. Because even Morpheus says it later, it's like, believe what you want to believe, but like, she hasn't been wrong yet.
True.
So, yeah. Neo asks what the Oracle told Trinity when she met her, and Trinity just goes, she told me. Pause for dramatic effect, and then Morpheus interrupts and goes, we're here. Morpheus and Neo head inside. We never learn what Trinity was told by the Oracle. Neo asks if it is the same Oracle that made the prophecy. Yes, it is the same Oracle, and she has been with us for a very long time. And Morpheus says that she would say that she knows enough of whatever is going on. Morpheus tells Neo to try not to think about it in terms of right and wrong, but that she is a guide and she can help you find the path. Neo asks Morpheus what she told him, and Morpheus says that I would find the one. I absolutely love when he smiles and he's revealing something, because it's almost like this smile of like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're growing into your own person. You're learning about this. You're asking all the right questions. Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm not going to give you the answer. You have to figure this out for yourself. But like, oh, I'm so proud. Look at my sweet child. And like, this is the vibe that I'm getting from Morpheus as Neo keeps asking questions.
I get the vibe more of like Morpheus is a true believer of
Oh,
the Oracle,
100%.
the whole thing. So for him, I think it's more like, I have this faith that the one will show up. I have this faith that we will take out the Matrix, or whatever the prophecy for him was. And he's seeing the pieces fall into place. So it's like all my true faith is paying off. So I think he's super excited by the simple fact that I brought the one to the Oracle. I was able to pull him out. No, it's all the things are working. So it's just, I think there's a sense of pride of like, yeah, Neo's growing up, but it's also like, I was right after X amount of years of me doing this, obviously more than 9 years, it's working.
I'm here and like I found him. I've done it. Like, let's go.
I'm Moses going to the making the trek, and we're almost to the city.
We're almost there.
Almost the promised land. So I think that might be the emotion he's feeling in this moment.
That's very possible. I think that there are multiple emotions that he could be feeling, and I like that it's a little vague. And we don't need to know. That's for the actor to know.
Yeah.
We don't need to know. So they get to the door. Morpheus can only show the door. Neo has to walk through it. And then who I thought was the Oracle, but is not the Oracle, and is just a nurse, opens the door right as Neo goes to open it. There are lots of kids there that are other potentials, which then chimes in with the fact that, like, yeah, you pull most of these people when they're kids. You don't pull them when they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
2 kids are making blocks float in the air. There's a kid that's able to bend spoons with their mind. Neo goes over and picks up a spoon. The kid says, don't try to bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try and realize the truth. There is no spoon. Then you will see it is not spoon that bends, only self. Neo tries it. It works. And then the nurse tells him that the Oracle is ready to see him.
Which the bending spoon thing was an old magic trick.
Yeah. I've seen that one.
I think the whole point, is that, remember we talked about like you believe something can happen, or something can happen, and the engine is trying to work around that. So I think it's more like you're looking at the spoon and saying the spoon is not there, and the engine or the game design or whatever is trying to say to you, oh, it is there. Watch, I'm going to reconstruct it, and as it reconstructs it, it's just moving the spoon around.
Oh yeah. And it's fun. I've never been able to do that magic trick. I have been able to do the one where I can bounce a spoon on my nose.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
life skills. I can balance a spoon on my nose. Not for very long, but I can do it. Now, Neo walks in, and the Oracle says that she will be right with him. She is not what he was expecting at all. She's baking. Hey, I found the cookies.
I
found the cookies. Now, she tells him that he won't sit, even if she offered. And then she says, don't worry about the vase. Neo goes, what vase? Proceeds to knock down a vase. And she's like, that vase. She'll get one of her kids to fix it. It is not a problem. One sec. She will get one of her kids to fix it. It is not a problem at all. Neo asks how she knows any of this, and what is really going to make his noodle later on is that, would you have still broken it if I hadn't said anything? Interesting question. I think he would have.
So the Oracle, I believe, is, and like I said, I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I'm trying to keep my remarks very tight here.
I appreciate it.
The Oracle is, because she's been around forever, right?
Mhm.
Which should allude to the fact that she probably isn't a normal person, right? What that means, I don't know if they go into it or not, but
I don't know
remember.
currently. I don't know currently.
Yeah.
My thought here is that the Oracle is some way connected to the Matrix, which is why they live in the Matrix.
Yeah, so and like I said, I'm not going to go sort of what, because it's a question that can get answered at some point. But
Yeah,
so the thing about it is, I think it's more about she is working to put the pieces in place to make the outcome happen that they want. So what that could mean to you is, if I didn't tell you about the vase, would you have broken it? But it's like, I put that subconscious thought into your mind to make you break the vase. So the
right.
question is, her words and are really leading the Matrix or leading Neo or whomever down a certain path. Like, she told Morpheus what he needed to know to get Neo in the room. She told Trinity what she needed to know to get Neo in the room.
Mhm.
So I look at her more as like, yeah, she is a guide, but she is not a trustworthy guide.
I am looking at it in two ways. One, she's not trustworthy. There's something about her. It feels like she might be the big head honcho. Like, I think the Oracle could actually potentially be the main villain of the entire series, maybe. And everything comes back to, we now need to defeat the Oracle. The other way I'm looking at it is, somehow it is a sentient being that lives in the Matrix, knows that they are in the Matrix, but is not unplugged at any point, which is why they're able to see, because they somehow hacked into the Matrix. And I don't have an answer of how they did this, but they somehow have hacked into the Matrix to where they understand that they're in the Matrix, but they're not unplugged. And so when that physical body dies, their consciousness gets moved to a new pod. Kind of like how people say the Dalai Lama works. And like, when he passes, his soul moves to a new body, right? And so this is my thought, is potentially the Oracle's working that way, but I still think that the Oracle might be our big bad of this series. Because I don't think Agent Smith is our big bad. And I think the Oracle might be the AI, that one sentient being that created the army.
Yeah, and the problem with it's nice they use the phrase oracle, right? Because if you look back in history of oracles in general, it sort of brings to the forefront the question of, is everything going to happen the way it's going to happen, or is there free will?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're seeing here as well, is that, is she, with the things that she's bringing up, the things she is talking about, is she planning this out all the way? Because like I said, as the big bad, as you're putting it, is she making the pieces fall the way she wants to fall? And if she is the big bad, that means her goal is not what Neo's and Morpheus's is, which means she's using them to get where she wants to go.
And that's what I'm thinking. Because I feel like there's something else that's in play that we don't know about yet, that I don't think anyone knows about yet.
Well, I know what it's about, but I'm not telling you.
Well, right. As a first-time viewer, I don't know what's going on, but like, I feel like there is something else in play that we haven't gotten an answer to yet. Because Agent Smith definitely isn't the top.
He feels like a henchman.
He feels like a henchman. He feels like the main henchman, but he feels like a henchman. And we were told by Dozer, I believe it was Dozer, one sentient being who created an army of robots. Maybe it was Morpheus that told us. It was one of them. And
I think Morpheus said it during the exposition dump.
Okay, great. So it was Morpheus then. But yeah, I think the Oracle might be that one sentient being the one being that created it, because they've been around since the beginning and for as long as he can remember. And at the same time, we do know that history is hazy. They don't know everything. So why couldn't it be the Oracle
True.
in one of those gaps? I don't know. We'll find out. Now, anyway, back to where we're at and what's going on with the Oracle in this moment. The Oracle says that he's cuter than she thought, and she can see why she likes him. And Neo just goes, who? And in my head, I'm like, Trinity. And then the Oracle just goes, not too bright, though. I love this. I love the dig. I was just like, this is great. We needed some comedy. Here we go. The Oracle then asks Neo what he thinks. Do you think you are the one? Honestly, Neo does not know, and the Oracle points at a sign above the doorframe that reads, Teme Noske, which I might have butchered pronunciation-wise, but it is Latin for know thyself. She lets him in on a secret. Being the one is just like being in love. No one can tell you are in love. You just know it through and through, balls to bones. And that's very true. Can't explain how you were in love. You know the feeling when you know it.
Now, one thing that's interesting, though, at this point, he is being called the one, right? The phrase "the one's" being used over and over. I mean, you probably have ever seen this, but Neo is just an anagram for the one.
Why did I not put this together until now?
Oh, you're welcome.
It's not even a hard anagram.
No, it's 3 letters. But also Neo meaning new, anagram for the one, so he's the new one.
Wait, Neo means new?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This makes so much sense now. I'm now, listeners, I apologize for the slight silence while Chris laughs at my, processing of this information.
I want you to process that. He is the new one. So
was there an old one?
There's your question.
Who's the old? Oh, okay. I love when guests just come in and they're like, here's stuff to think about, and then leave. And I'm like, I'm just stuck with answers. Questions.
I won't be with you for the end of this movie, so.
You will not be.
I don't get to see the damage I've caused you.
You just get to know that, you have caused agony for the next few days until I record the next session.
Yep.
And the next episode. But, okay. Have we met the old one? If there is an old one, is the old one potentially the prophet?
I'm not telling you, but
look, I know. This is me thinking out loud at this point.
Okay, go for it. As long as you're not expecting answers from me.
I
got the answers, but I'm not going to tell them to you.
And I love that. That is great. That's exactly what we need. And I'm just going to sit here in agony for the rest of this recording and try to stay on topic. So the Oracle then goes, all right, let me take a look at you. Puts on her glasses, tells him to open wide, and goes, say ah. And Neo obliges, and I'm like, I love that she's just inspecting him as a doctor. And she inspects his face, then his palms, and the Oracle says, I'm supposed to say, and that's interesting. And then you're supposed to say, what? And then I'm supposed to say, you already know. And I was just like, this is just a really fun exchange where the Oracle's like, you know how this plays out. You've seen the films in 1999.
Well, I think let's look back in, as I said to you, as you alluded to, if he is not the first, she's done this before.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, this is old hat.
This is old. And I think, it's interesting because what she says is that you know what I'm already going to tell you. And Neo confirms that I'm not the one. And she's like, yeah, you are not. You have the gift, but you are, waiting for something. Maybe your next life. Who knows? And I actually think that Neo is the one. But this is some reverse psychology that she's going to have to pull. And this is what I'm thinking. Because Neo chuckles and says that Morpheus was almost convincing him that he really was the one. And that's why I think Neo is the one. And, it's this reverse psychology that she's done this before, as we've just discussed potentially. And so maybe the prophet has come back multiple times. but maybe he was told too early as a kid, which maybe that's now why they have to wait until Neo's an adult. Maybe they need an adult and they can't have him as a kid. For whatever the reasoning is, I don't know, but like they need him as an adult and not as a kid. So maybe that's one reason, right? Maybe he needs this self-doubt to then truly grow into the Matrix killer, which is what they're expecting him to do, which is completely destroy this thing. And so I'm thinking that this is just reverse psychology and Neo truly is the one. I appreciate that you can sit there and nod. So we'll move on.
Yeah,
Oracle.
that man.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I will say that when I go on these, like, I'm trying to put together things, I love watching my guests at times like that because I'm like talking out loud, like trying to process sometimes all of the new information that my guests are throwing at me. And then I'm just like, they're just here enjoying my suffering. Which I hope you do. Like, I hope it's an enjoyable experience. So the Oracle says that poor Morpheus, without him, we are lost. Neo asks, what do you mean without him? Neo wants to hear. And the Oracle is like, all right, I will tell you. Morpheus believes in Neo, and no one, not you, not even me, can convince him otherwise. He believes it so blindly that he's going to sacrifice his life to save yours. And you'll have to make a choice. In one hand, you'll have Morpheus's life. In the other, you'll have your own. One of you is going to die. Which one that will end up being a choice for you. The Oracle tells him that he has a good soul. She hates delivering bad news to good people. The Oracle also then continues to tell him that he will feel better when he leaves. Remember, he doesn't believe in all of this fate crap. You are in control of your own life. Okay. So this is, especially after this, I'm like, this is reverse psychology. No one is going to die. Morpheus is not going to die. What she's telling him is something that's going to happen. He's going to have the choice to save Morpheus or run in whatever sense. Probably very soon is what I'm guessing because Cypher dropped that phone to send out that beam and signal. So I'm guessing this is all going to go down soon, but Morpheus isn't going to die and Neo's not going to die. The two of them live. Trinity dies. That's my thought here is Trinity dies, but I do think everything up until one of you is going to die is true in what the Oracle has said.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Again, I don't know. So Morpheus then, is outside waiting, and Neo comes out and he says, whatever she said was for you and for you alone. And then they walk away. We have an agent looking at pictures. I thought it was an agent. Is this Mouse or an agent?
That's Mouse.
That's Mouse.
With the big briefcases? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that is Mouse. He's looking at a picture of a lady, and then
it's the same one from the simulation.
Okay, I didn't catch that because I only saw the legs, and so I wasn't able to catch that it was the same lady.
That's where he gets the idea of her design from, if you would.
Okay, makes complete sense. So he's looking at the picture of this lady from the simulation, and he picks up a call from Tank saying that they are on their way. So he starts to seemingly get some stuff ready so that they can all get back to the ship. Tank seems to be getting locked out of the system, or something is going wrong. There are glitches, and Tank's starting to realize this. Cypher's mouth on his real body twitches, and I don't know if that's important, but they cut to it. And I don't know if this comes up later, because it doesn't come up for the rest of this scene and the rest of what I've seen so far. So I don't know if this comes up later. But his body that was connected to all the wires started twitching, whereas everyone else has stayed still the entire time. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm curious, and I hope I learn more about this. Neo then sees a black cat, and then sees an identical one, and says, "Deja vu." And everyone freaks out by this. And Tank finally finds out that it is a trap. And, the deja vu only happens in the Matrix when it is a glitch and that they have changed something. Tank, puts together it's a trap. Mouse can't get out, so he grabs two massive machine guns and goes out in a blaze of glory. Well, Not quite a blaze of glory. He died. I don't think he actually hit anyone with any of the bullets that he shot.
And they were massive bullets. The sizes
Yeah.
were gigantic.
Yeah.
They're like almost like
They are-
mini rockets. Those things were so huge.
And he missed all of them. Back to the thing that Morpheus said earlier of I've seen people unload carts or magazines, whatever he said, and miss. Here's an example of that. Well, Mouse is dead. All right. I didn't see him dying. Cool. The crew is running, and Cypher says that that's what they have changed. There is no way out when they open a window and they see that it is all bricked up. Morpheus says, "Give me your phone. They can track us." And Morpheus then calls Tank and tells him to find the structural drawings of the building fast. This is one of those moments where having Tank, I would feel, as I was saying earlier, very useful because he's able to look up all this information that they don't have access to.
Mhm.
Now, they need the main wet wall, and Agent Smith gets a memo that they are on the 8th floor. So the chase is on. APOC hands Neo a gun and says, "I hope the Oracle gave you some good news." She didn't. The suits don't find them on the 8th floor because they are crawling through the pipes and the wall of the building.
Yeah, there's the space between the building itself and the additional wall that was added when they enclosed the building.
Yeah. Like there had to be a wall somewhere. So where was it? And that was it. Now, Cypher conveniently slips and starts to cough. There's a soldier nearby who gets up against the wall, and then Cypher coughs again. They find out they are in the walls. The agent then morphs into the gunman. I don't know how to explain this. The gunman shoots all the bullets, and then the agent becomes the gunman?
Yeah, so the agent, as it's a program, he
Right.
takes over the vessel that is the actual human. So all the gunmen you see, all the soldiers are humans inside those batteries. But
Right.
the agents can take over any of those avatars at any point. Think of like a moderator on a massive role playing game online. A moderator is taking over someone else's avatar for them. That's essentially what they do.
It made complete sense of him taking over. I just was like, I don't know what the word is. So yeah, okay. So he's taking over this gunman's NPC character, I guess. And then, he busts through the wall with his hands and grabs Neo. Morpheus, who is above Neo, jumps out of the wall, tackles the agent to the ground. And at this time, he couldn't quite tell who the agent was. It's Agent Smith. It's nobody else. Nobody else would do the job that is this important. Now, Neo doesn't want to leave, but Trinity says that they must, because Morpheus tells them that getting Neo out is the most important thing and that they must go. And so Neo wants to go help. Trinity says no, and then she grabs him, and they fall down to the floor.
Now, if you notice, they're like using the walls to slow their descent a little bit.
Yeah.
So you see all the tiles are bursting off the walls. Yet again, that's the game engine or the simulation engine trying to compensate for the impossible thing that they're doing. Because if you notice that force of them going through is going through however much concrete that is. So
yeah,
it's a cool looking scene. It's a cool like
it's
way
a
to
really
visual
cool scene. Yeah, I definitely thought it was a really cool scene. I like that it was like, ooh, you got two streaks where your hands and your legs are touching. So it's like you got these two streaks coming down. It's not everywhere. It's just these two streaks. Very cool scene. Now, the SWAT team then starts to shoot, but not a single bullet hits anybody because that's how bullets work. Cypher, being his useless traitorous self, has somehow, caught up with the group or is with the group. He trips and they're trying to escape and he can't get out. And it's like, oh no. And Trinity escapes without him. I'm so heartbroken. It's fine. Like he doesn't need to survive. Cypher can die. I'm good with his death. Now, meanwhile, Smith and Morpheus finally meet face to face. Agent Smith and Morpheus fight, but it's more of a Morpheus getting beat up with a few hits landed onto Agent Smith while Agent Smith absolutely pummels Morpheus.
He takes a beating in that scene.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of headway in this one. Cypher then calls Tank and says that he needs an exit. Someone up there likes him. there was a car accident. Someone has got to put together that he is fishy after all of this. Like, how have you not put together that he's fishy? He gives up your location. He can't walk to your grate to get out of there. He suddenly is somehow okay. Like, Tank, be smarter.
Yeah, well, Tank it's all about the chaos, right? They're just fleeing, and he's just happy that at least one of them survived this thing.
And I do understand where Tank is coming from, right? I'm not faulting Tank. I can fault Tank as an outside party looking in, being like, Tank, you should pick up on the signals. In that moment, Tank is doing exactly what Tank should be doing, which is, I gotta save my crew.
Yep.
So, like, he is doing exactly what he should be doing. Now, Tank tells him where he can get an exit, and then the others call and send everyone to the same exit that he sent Cypher to as well. And I was like, ooh, this isn't actually going to be Cypher. What if this is one of the agents? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm wrong. This is Cypher. I am 100% wrong.
Well, sure, the agent can't take over. Since Cypher's not plugged into the Matrix, the agents can't take them over.
Right. I processed this as we were recording this episode.
Oh, okay.
I did not process this as I wrote down these notes. So I processed this based on our previous conversation. Okay. So this is why I was like, all right, like, cool. I've understood. But as I was watching this for the first time, I was like, okay, this might not actually be Cypher. And then it is. And it now makes sense of why it is. So Cypher goes over. He, makes it through. He's back. He's safe. Lovely. And they're working on getting the others out. Tank tells him that they're on the way. Cypher, I'm just like, all right, he's gonna get rid of Tank and Dozer. And Cypher immediately walks over, grabs a gun, and kills Tank, and then immediately kills Dozer.
But not just any gun.
It's like a lightning gun?
It's like a lightning gun, yeah.
It's like a lightning gun. It's a really cool gun.
It is. But I think it's important not to say it's a normal gun. It's just a giant thing that burns you alive.
Yeah. It is.
It's a
it
terrible
shoots
way
light.
to die.
It shoots light, is what it looks like, or it shoots electricity.
Yeah.
It's shooting one of the two. The effect looks like it is shooting lightning. I would say if you haven't seen this movie, another way that you can think of it: Star Wars Episode 3. Palpatine's powers.
That's a good way to look at it, yeah.
That's kind of what is going on, but I have a vessel that can force this out rather than the energies coming from my fingers. So that's another way of thinking of what this activity is. Now, they call the operator. The others have finally made it there. And hey, nobody picks up. And yeah, Tank kind of got blasted alive. And I am upset, by the way, right now. Because I'm like, you're telling me that Tank and Dozer died? I was not on board for this. I expected one of them to have to sacrifice the other one. Not both of them dying.
Yeah, you were so way off on your prediction.
On the table. Like, what? So I'm all sorts of wrong. This movie is just another one of those where apparently everything I'm saying is turning out to be wrong. I really hope that I'm right about Trinity dying, but now I don't feel good about that after this whole scene happens. So here's what happens in this thing, because oh boy, is it a mess. Cypher finally picks up. And then he goes on this beautiful monologue, and Trinity is like, Cypher, what's going on? And he goes, for a long time, I thought I was in love with you. I used to dream about you. You're a beautiful woman, Trinity. Too bad things had to turn out this way. Trinity then finally puts together that Cypher killed Tank and Dozer. Mm-hmm. And then Cypher reveals that he is tired of this war, tired of fighting, the ship being cold, eating the same goddamn gruel every day. But most of all, he's tired of that Jagoff and all his bullshit. Cypher then jumps onto Morpheus's body and goes, surprise, asshole, but you never saw this coming. And then he wishes that he could be there when Morpheus gets broken so that he could know that it was him all along. Trinity is processing this entire time. Trinity is our lovable friend who is understanding everything too late. That is Trinity's role in this scene. This is Cypher's moment to shine. And might I just say, this actor nailed it.
Oh, he did a fantastic job.
Incredible performance from this actor. I don't know who it is, and I'm not going to look it up for safety reasons. But yeah, well done to the actor. He was great. Now, Trinity realizes that he gave up Morpheus. Cypher says that Morpheus lied to them. He tricked us, told us the truth, and they would have told him to shove the red pill right up his ass if he was told the truth. Trinity tells Cypher that he was set free. Cypher scoffs at calling this free. He says that all I do is what Morpheus tells me. Between that and the Matrix, I would choose the Matrix. Trinity says that the Matrix isn't real. Cypher disagrees. He thinks the Matrix can be more real than this world. All he has to do is pull a plug here. And then he says, Trinity, I have to pull a plug. You have to watch APOC die. And I was like, oh. Cypher's going like full
dark.
I'll give you Morpheus and I'm killing everybody else. Like, I'm going to get rid of everybody else. I'm going to leave him with no crew.
I mean,
I didn't
what other
realize
choices he
was
have?
going that deep. Yeah.
If any of them come back, he's done.
Well, I mean, I don't think he would be. Would he?
Yeah, because he's got to get the ship to get his body put back in the Matrix.
Oh, yeah. So he does need to come back.
He needs to come back. So he can't bring any of those people with him because they'll try stopping him. So he's got to basically disconnect them from their bodies.
He's gotta off them all.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing a good job of it because what?
It's super easy. They're all just laying there.
Yeah, they're all just laying there. All he does, he pulls one little cord, and then APOC collapses on the floor. Bye, APOC. Like, see ya.
Yep.
Like, all right.
You separate the mind from the body dies.
Look, of all the ways to off someone, Cypher's got the easiest job. He's just got to unplug something. And based on how often my phone gets unplugged when it says that it's plugged in,
oh yeah,
that's super easy.
Oh yeah, he's using a Apple Lightning cord. It just falls out.
Yeah, it's just whoops. So Cypher then, after pulling the plug on APOC, reveals that when he goes back, he won't remember a thing. He tells Trinity that if there is anything important that she would like to say to Switch, say it now. Switch is kneeling next to APOC and says the words, not like this, and then gets the plug pulled on them too late, and I will say an incredible death from Switch.
Oh yeah, it's I think she brings up a good point. Like, the reason you went to reality was because you wanted control of your life. You don't want to live in the dream. And
right
now she's dying with like somebody that's completely out of her control. There's nothing she can do. She can't even plead her case. It's literally like, the moment is here. There's nothing I can fight about it. I don't want to go this way. She was willing to die with guns in her hands, go out guns blazing, but to go out by someone merely pushing a button.
I almost felt like she was going to say not like this, and then off herself.
Yeah.
Because it was, I'm going out on my own terms. I'm not going out on someone else's terms. I'm not going out on a trader's terms.
Yeah. And she
But that's not how she got pulled. Cypher just pulls a plug.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where I wrote, I will say, Cypher, very good character. I just expected more diversion on the audience's sake of who the trader was going to be.
He wasn't a red herring. That was the red
herring. He wasn't. It was just, the red herring was, no, we're just going to tell you the truth for once.
Yeah. The red herring was that there was no red herring.
Much.
Yeah.
Exactly. They haven't told us the truth so much, or like, they're like slowly sprinkling in the truth. I didn't expect us to find out the truth immediately.
Oh yeah, like the next scene, they're literally telling you the truth.
Yeah. Remember that instant gratification thing? They played it very well.
Oh yeah.
Because they set up the idea of, here's the question, we'll give you the answer. Here's the question, we'll give you the answer. But then with Cypher, it was, here's the question, here's the answer. Like,
in the same sentence.
in almost the same breath. Like, you find out in, I think, a span of a minute and a half of film time, that he is having devious thoughts. He is the traitor. Like, there's no hesitation there.
Now, the thing is, you could have been an audience looking and saying, like, it's still too simple. Maybe he's a double agent. Maybe, maybe he could have been, there could be another role. They're trying to use him as to route it out. You never know, right?
You never know. I
But
was
it
under
was
the impression
straightforward.
once he was their traitor, I was like, he's the traitor. And I think for me, the main thing there was also just recognizing that Cypher being the traitor makes sense. And the reason that it works so well in storytelling is because they set up this idea that we're not going to give you instant gratification. Flipping that on the head, giving you that instant, like, here's your answer, let's move, it's a 180 of how they've been telling the story this entire time. And that 180 is like, oh, and I think that's tonally where this film shifted tone. Because it's been a mystery up until we find out Cypher is the traitor. I think the moment you find out Cypher is a traitor, it's like, I can see the darkness. We know what's going to happen. He's going to do something traitorous. What is going to be the recoil of all of this? And I think that allows us to not spend as much time in training with Neo.
Well, I think it also ties back into that whole, we talked about, so the cult mentality or the true believer mentality, and the fact that he is not a true believer. And that's why it makes perfect sense that he's the traitor.
I had to swallow. Yeah, it really does make perfect sense. So anyway, he's continued being a beautiful traitor himself. Again, incredible character. He's a very fun character. If I didn't want to play Tank, I'd probably want to play Cypher.
Oh, the villains are the fun ones.
I love playing a villain. Someone cast me as a villain. Please, I promise I can be mean. I'm usually a very silly person, but I can be mean. I can do it. Cypher then says that he just wants the messenger, and he's going to prove it. If Morpheus was right, there is no way he can pull the plug on Neo. And I was like, ooh, okay, interesting. And it's actually going to prove that he is the one because he's not going to be able to pull the plug. This was my first thought. And then I was also like, I have 46 minutes left in the film. It would be a wild choice to kill Neo off here.
Yeah.
Also, now knowing, because there are some things that you just can't avoid. I know that there are sequels, and I know that he's in the sequels. But, like, it would have been a wild choice to kill Neo off at the 46-minute left mark. Now, yeah. Cypher says that if Neo is the one, then there has to be some kind of miracle to stop me, right? The miracle is going to be one of these three things, is my prediction. One of these three things is about to happen. Either Tank or Dozer, I'm hoping it's Tank, but it might be Dozer, isn't fully dead, and they kill Cypher before they fully die. 2, he legitimately cannot pull the plug. Or 3, he pulls the plug, but Neo doesn't die. Trinity lies to him, saying that he does die. One of these three things is about to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Cypher asks her again, tells her to look into his eyes, his big, beautiful eyes, and tell him yes or no. Does she believe Morpheus? Trinity says yes. Cypher says, no, I don't believe it. Tank is alive! I was right! One of the three things happened! Whoop-de-doo! And then I love this line from Tank. He goes, believe it or not, you piece of shit, you're still gonna burn. And then he hits him with the zap cannon.
Yep.
And Cypher, I'm assuming, is dead. If he isn't, Tank, go hit him again.
Well, there's 45 minutes left.
Again. We haven't seen Agent Smith for a while, and like I feel like we gotta go battle Agent Smith. We've had the Cypher arc.
Yep.
Cypher can be put to rest. Tank calls back Trinity, confirms that Dozer is dead. Maybe Tank doesn't die, because he didn't die in what I watched.
Mm-hmm.
He confirms Dozer is dead, and then the scene changes, and that's as far as I have seen. I don't know what happens next. I am assuming he brings back Neo. I'm going to go on this assumption that he's bringing back Neo and not just leaving Neo out there.
Yeah.
And they just don't need to show us that. So, yeah. This is as much as I've watched. I do not know what is coming next. I am baffled. All of my predictions have been wrong, so I do have a thought of what is going to happen for the rest of the film. It's very bare bones because I'm so lost in what even is a possibility anymore. At some point, Neo is going to dodge bullets, doing the cool Matrix dodge bullet backbend thing. I know that that's a thing. I don't know what movie it's in. I think it's in this one.
Okay.
He's gonna do that at some point, and I'm gonna assume that it's agents that are shooting bullets at him. Neo is the one. Neo is the answer. I think the Oracle might actually be our big bad, and our Oracle might actually be our big villain of maybe not this film, but of the whole series. Maybe at the end of the film, we learn that the Oracle is the big bad. But I think the Oracle is the big bad of everyone and the entire overarching series. So I don't know if that's a question that will be answered in this film or not. I do think that Morpheus is going to be saved by Neo and Trinity and Tank. And I think that our surviving crew is going to be Morpheus, Neo, Trinity, and Tank. I think the 4 of them are going to survive. I do not think that they are going to succeed in destroying the Matrix, but I do think that they are going to succeed in destroying some of the suits, or in some way, shape, or form. They're going to cause enough havoc to where they can rest for a little bit before they have to come back and do the next set of activities of whatever is going on. Again, very bare bones because I am so confused because anything I thought was the plot is no longer the plot.
Yeah.
So I really don't know where I'm going with this one. But I love it. I'm enjoying this movie. I am looking forward to continuing to watch this movie.
Yeah, that's why it was such a big hit when it came out. I mean, it was just people confused watching it. You had to figure it out, understand it, and it truly, the marketing around the movie was brilliant.
Great.
Because it was all around, what is the Matrix, and the only way to know what the Matrix is by going to go see the Matrix.
Yeah,
it's from the movie, it's in the movie, and it's true. So the marketing did not explain any of it.
I mean, even if someone were to ask me now, they're like, "What's the Matrix?" I'm like, it's a simulation, and we all live in a simulation. It's hard to explain. Go watch the movie, at least go watch the scene where Morpheus explains it.
And it's interesting. So, like, this movie has brought up so many, there's so many like memes that have come out of this movie as well, like red pill versus blue pill, or I know kung fu.
I didn't even realize that was from this.
Yeah, there's a couple of them in there. So this movie has done. It's from 1999. I mean, so we're looking 26 years now.
Yeah, just about.
It's this movie could drink at this point. So yeah. It is well, and yet it still holds up. I think the effects are fantastic. The effects hold up. They did a fantastic job with it.
The only effect that I have seen where I'm like, that's a sign of the times, was the red dress girl in that simulation. But it worked because I think I was supposed to notice that she looked out of place.
Oh yeah, she's definitely like I said, she's a red flag in that scene. She's supposed to pop in the scene.
And but it wasn't just the outfit. There was like an aura around her, almost like there was like a paste around her that was like, "Ooh, you don't fit." Like a little thin white line that was like surrounding her, of like, "Ooh, you don't fit this world." At least like that's what I saw.
Yeah, like a halo effect.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, the word. And so like that's what I saw, and I was like, okay. But then I think it works for the scene and that was the only time where I was like, this feels like it might be a sign of the times. But then I was also like, well, it might not be, because maybe that's just what they needed for the scene. So I don't know. But it definitely is holding up. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Chris, thank you so much for joining again on this episode. If people want to find the lovely work that you are doing on the internet, how can they do so?
Sure, you can pretty much find me over at Movie Smash, movie-smash.com to be precise. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We release episodes every other week where we discuss basically movies based on graphic novels or comics, and talk about some old ones, some new ones, and just sort of give some love to the older movies. And then you can also find me at Off Panel Creations, where I'm building some piece of nerdy furniture, always doing something interesting over there. So
yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for, I guess, adding more turmoil to my life as you gave me questions to think about that now I'm going to think about. And not have answers for. So thank you for that. I appreciate it thoroughly. Thank you for guesting and being a wonderful guest. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. And until next week, when I guess we figure out what in the world is going on in the Matrix, I'll catch y'all later. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale. Post Finale is created and hosted by me, Ankit Madhira. It is produced by Ankit Madhira and Stephen Nieman. The music is by Ankit Madhira and Megan Hutchison. The art is by Jarid Rother, and our editor is Servellon. If you like the show, please follow us on social media at co-op forge, CO_OPFORGE on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook to keep up to date on everything that's happening with the podcast. And you can also follow at Post Finale Pod on Instagram if you just want updates for this show. Talk about us on social media. It really does help us out a lot. And thank you to anyone who has done this in the past or who will do this in the future. If you want to support in a monetary way and get access to some bonus content, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/co-opforge. That's patreon.com/CO_OPFORGE. And all the money raised on that Patreon goes directly back into the show to make it a better experience for you, the listeners. We just want to create good content while not being in the red while doing so. And your support means the world to us. If you can support in a non-monetary way, that's great as well. Just tell a friend about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to grow the show, and it really does help us out a lot. Leave a rating or review, subscribe, follow on whatever podcast app you are listening on. If you're listening on our YouTube channel, Co-op Forge, please hit a follow. If you're listening on another app, if you could do us a favor and go hit us follow on our YouTube channel, it would help us out. If we hit 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we got a special thing coming out for you all. But until then, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale, and be sure to join us next week as we get on to more shenanigans. And until then, I'll catch y'all later.